Hello and welcome to your tarot reading for the new moon in Pisces. So if you're unfamiliar with these readings, there are two different options. The first one is available widely on YouTube and Instagram, and that involves one Total Betty Goddess card from the Total Betty Goddess deck that I created, and 3 other oracle cards from the Wild Unknown Spirit Animal deck. If you want more information about what unfolds during those first 4 cards, there is an extended reading that always happens over on my Patreon, patreon.com/MichelleShea. If you join the full-time fortune teller level, you get access to everything the 2 levels beneath that have, but also to the extended readings that happen on the new and full moon every month. So if that's something that interests you, or if after hearing what the first 4 cards have to say, you feel intrigued or it resonates with you, that's usually a sign that the rest of the reading will have something for you as well. So without further ado, we will dive into our first card. So I'm going to shuffle up the Total Betty Goddess deck. It is a deck of my creation, which is 90s icons playing the different goddesses. So if you're a fan of the 90s, you might want to check that out. They're always available over at michellesheawalker.com as well as Etsy. And we're going to shuffle it up with the new moon in Pisces in mind. So this is a reading for the collective. So if you've stumbled across this video or if the title caught your attention, even if it's not the new moon in Pisces currently, this is something that's going to contain information for you. And the goddesses are there to just kind of give us a little assist. So the goddess card is really less about predicting the energy and more about helping to guide us through what already is. So shuffling the deck. What goddess wants to come play? I am a moon in Pisces, so I have been swimming in this Pisces new moon energy, or pre-Pisces new moon energy. It's somewhere that I feel very comfortable. However, if you are a person, or if your astrology chart dictates that you are not a very emotional person, if you don't have a lot of water in your chart, it might feel kind of uncomfortable right now because the moon is all about our innermost feelings and emotions. And then Pisces is a very emotional sign. So from a Pisces moon, I can tell you that it's okay to sit with your feelings. It's okay to feel a different thing from every hour. And it's okay to cry one minute and laugh one minute. And it doesn't mean that you're going crazy. And it doesn't mean that you're constantly going to be in one state or the other. You have to allow for that ebb and flow and recognize that all emotions are temporary. So with that in mind, our goddess of the month is Themis, played by Ally McBeal. So Themis is the goddess of sort of justice. She's very similar to the Justice card in the tarot. So it's very much about recognizing that there's always karma at play in any situation, especially interpersonal, and that we need to be fair to those around us. I'm getting a couple cliches from this right off the bat for this particular reading. And the first is do unto others as you wish that they would do unto you. The second is if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So I think that for some of us, this Pisces new moon emotions, if you're not used to examining your own emotions, you might want to blame others for them. And sometimes others are involved in the situations that have brought up the emotions, but ultimately your emotions. They're yours to examine and to figure out the root source of them. Because most of us as an adult, we're not having emotional reactions to things that are really based on what's happening in the moment. We are being triggered by something in our childhood or in a past relationship from a long time ago. And that's when the emotional reactivity becomes the most intense because it's not just about the situation at play. So if you're finding yourself very triggered by a personal relationship or even interactions that you're having online, this is a card our goddess Themis is calling out to us to be fair. And if being fair means that you just don't say anything at all because you don't have anything nice to say, that's okay. And also be fair to yourself because you don't have to put yourself in these emotionally reactive situations during this emotionally reactive time. So if you are involved in a situation that feels like it's bringing up a lot of triggers, for that cliche term, but if it is bringing up a lot of triggers for you, and you don't know how to process or handle it right now because there's so much heightened emotion, take a break from it. take a break from interacting with people in general. I've had a really good time the past few days just taking a break from social media so that I am just sitting in my own emotions and I'm not having the emotions of the outside world affect what I'm feeling. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed by the emotions that are coming at you, put up a wall, set some boundaries, go off on your own, journal something out, meditate so that you can get in touch with your own feelings. Because you can't change anyone else's emotions around you. You can only handle what's going on within you. So if you can't tap into what the difference between those two things are, it's really important right now to know what's going on within so that you can be fair. You can be fair to yourself by not taking on the emotions of others. And you can be fair to others by not blaming them for situations that happen in your past that have nothing to do with them, that the situation is now bringing up for you to heal. So with that in mind, we're going to dive into our 3 remaining oracle cards for the general collective. This is from the Wild Unknown Spirit Animal deck. So I'm going to shuffle those up. We're just going to get a little past, present, future energy at play. So we're going to know where we're coming from in this Pisces new moon, what the Pisces new moon is going to be bringing up for us, and where we're headed after that. Because ultimately, even if it feels uncomfortable in the moment, it's bringing us to something new, something that makes the entire situation more worthwhile, so that if you're in the thick of all these emotions, you can see that light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so we have a little past energy, present, and future. So our past energy is coming in with the snake. So the snake is a symbol of sort of untapped potential. So the snake in the Spirit Animal deck talks about the Kundalini snake. So if you're familiar with Kundalini yoga, or if you do a lot of meditation that speaks about the chakras, there's a mythology, a metaphor that there is a coiled snake at the base of our chakra system, the base of the spine. And as we start to awaken our spiritual connection, we start to tap into and connect to all parts of ourself, both spiritual and physical, that snake starts to spiral upward through the chakras. So it comes from the root, which is our more earthly concerns, through the sacral chakra, which is our passion center, our creativity, into the solar plexus, which is our confidence and our ability to interact with the world, into our heart, which is our ability to love and connect to others on an emotional level, up into the throat, which is our ability to speak, share our emotions, share our thoughts, and also listen to the outside world. So again, we have that famous balance energy that we're coming from. Into the third eye, which is our intuition, and then ultimately out through the crown, which is our connection to the divine. And they say that this Kundalini jump of the snake from the root to the crown is what causes that sort of feeling of euphoria. So if you've ever had a really good meditation or a really beautiful yoga session that you just come out feeling like you're walking on air and your head's in the clouds, that's sort of that Kundalini awakening energy. It can also have a very sexual feeling to the energy. So if you've had a lot of sort of urges to create and tap into your sensuality lately, that's what this is speaking to as well. So this is the energy we're coming in from a recent past. So in the days leading up to this new moon, that's what's being awakened, that Kundalini energy. We're being called to be more connected to both our physical body and our spirituality, and recognize that those two things exist together at the same time. It's not one or the other, it has to be both. So we're moving into this Pisces new moon energy of, fittingly, the whale. So the whale right away is relevant because Pisces is a water sign. So we are swimming in those deep waters. The whale is calling out for us to dive even deeper into those. So the whale represents being unafraid of your emotional life, which is kind of what I was speaking to at the beginning of this reading, talking about the Pisces new moon. If you can embrace the fact that you will have the full spectrum of emotions and none of them are rather good or bad, and that they're ultimately teaching you something that you need to learn and showing you things that you need to look at within yourself, then you can create the utmost emotional stability in your life, even as those emotions fluctuate. So let's say that you are being triggered by those relationships around you. Those emotions are showing you something within you that needs to be healed. It also could be showing you the people in your life that need to be ebbing and flowing out of your existence. But there's a school of psychology that says that you are being triggered or disliking or being emotionally reactive to that intimate partner, because they're either showing you a portion of your shadow side, which means that something that they're doing reminds you of something that you do. So rather than looking at yourself and trying to heal that dislike internally, you're projecting that dislike onto them so that you don't have to look inward. Or they're showing you a part of your abandoned self, your lost self. So it's something within you that somewhere along the way, probably in your childhood development, someone told you that you weren't allowed to do or be something. A really great example of this is in heterosexual relationships. When there's a male and a female, there are gender biases that we've all been presented with while we're growing up. So as a female in a relationship, you might start to get triggered by some of the more masculine qualities in your partner. If they are super vocal with their opinions, if they are the caretaker, the protector in the relationship, if they are hypersexualized, like we've come to expect the masculine energy to be, then you might find that that's something in them that you're judging. But ultimately, it's because it's something that somewhere along the way someone told you you weren't allowed to be, and secretly you want a part of that. That's where we get this whole Jerry Maguire, you complete me, codependent idea of a relationship. Please don't embrace that. But the reason that we have that is because this other person is showing us something that we weren't allowed to really embrace within ourselves. Now, the healthy way to deal with this is to see that part of this person that you weren't able to embrace, and rather than resent them for it, or on even the positive side that's still not that positive, think that they complete you, you then take that and try to turn it inward and see, they're really good at building things. I really admire that in them, or I'm really annoyed by that in them, but it's secretly because I can't do that. So what can I do to help integrate some of that quality into myself so I no longer feel that it's something I'm lacking, and then I no longer feel like they need to be around to complete that part of me, but I also no longer feel like I'm annoyed by that part of them because I also recognize and love it as a part of myself. So if you're interested in this theory, it's my absolute favorite way to look at relationships. It's based in imago therapy, which is by an author called Harville Hendrix. He's very famous for one of his books called Getting the Love You Want, which is for couples. He also has a singles version that's called Keeping the Love You Find. So this whole idea of turning your triggers, your emotional reactions to your partner inward and finding out how to complete yourself more so that you can love them better resonates for you, I highly recommend those readings. So that's what we're looking at essentially here with the Pisces new moon, is diving deeper into any emotion that you're having and recognizing that it's trying to show you something. It's trying to show you something that you have denied in yourself, or it's trying to show you something that you want to develop more of in yourself. And there's healing that's to be done there. And ultimately, that's what we're here to do, is to heal and to become more complete beings. So don't hate on your emotions. They're showing you the way. To take that to another direction, your emotions are part of the law of attraction. So when you are feeling negative emotions, it means that something in the situation is not resonating with you on a soul level. When you're feeling positive emotions, it means you're on the right track. So sometimes that means that it's your perspective that needs to shift. Sometimes it means that your situation needs to shift. But ultimately, these emotions are not something that you should ignore. They're not something that you should push aside. And they're definitely not something that you should feel bad about, because they are a wonderful GPS system directing you towards what you really want in life. So that is what we're accomplishing on this new moon. That's a lot. So let's see where we're heading. We are heading into a future card of the bear energy. So the bear energy is bringing us back into the earth. So we started with the snake with some earth energy, moved into the water, then we're getting grounded once more. So the bear is about reawakening to your spiritual path. So it's interesting the way that this progression is going. Before the new moon, we have the snake, which is the Kundalini energy. But the thing about Kundalini energy is, while it can be sustainable, oftentimes those of us that have gotten a glimpse of it, it's called the Kundalini jump for a reason. It's like this flash of energy that kind of brings you that state of enlightenment, and then it kind of drops back down. So it feels like it's harder to hold on to. Meanwhile, when we go into this new moon and we start to really evaluate our emotions and we start to connect to the way that our emotions show up in our body and what they're trying to tell us, that is then teaching us how to hold on to that spirituality in a more sustainable way. So now as we move out of the new moon energy into this bear spirit animal energy, it's like we're waking up from a hibernation. We're seeing things in our lives that maybe didn't make sense before that now make sense on a deeper spiritual level. So that only could happen because you allowed yourself to swim in these deep Pisces new moon waters and feel the emotions fully. Without that emotional GPS system, you can't awaken to your sustainable spiritual self. So the bear is here to kind of ground that spirituality in something that feels really strong, really stable, maybe a little slower moving than the Kundalini, so it may not come on all at once, but it's gonna slowly just sort of, sleepily wake up from that hibernation and then maybe kind of do a little stretching and then slowly meander its way out of that dark cave that you've been hiding in so that you can come out into the light and live in a fully grounded, yet also fully spiritual existence. So that's where we're coming from. You can't ignore the body, you can't ignore the spirituality. They have to come and work together. And that's the ultimate goal that we're moving into out of this Pisces new moon, if you're willing to do the work and look at what your emotions are trying to show you. So if this reading's resonated for you so far, if you're really feeling that idea of not judging others and finding more ways to connect to your spirituality by also connecting to your emotions and letting your emotional reactivity in your relationships show you what you're trying to integrate within yourself, then the rest of this reading is probably going to resonate for you too. So if you would like to continue on with me, you can head over again to patreon.com/Michelle Shea. We're going to be pulling about 10 to 12 cards from the Wild Unknown Tarot to kind of really solidify what the message of the moment is. And if you're watching this on Patreon, the rest of your reading starts right now.